Hi, 6th and 7th graders. Happy Friday. It is Friday, April 9th, 2021. Hopefully the last day that we will be learning virtually as a group. And I would like to start by reading a little bit of Peak by Roland Smith. I'm just going to finish the chapter that I started yesterday. There's not much left. Okay. So when we last left off, Peak had met Sunjo, or Sunjo. I bet his name is pronounced Sunjo. Sunjo. And Sunjo took him to meet Zopa, who is the monk that helps his dad a lot. His dad Josh, a lot. And Zopa wasn't too informative. He just said, all right, I will see you in a little bit. And that was basically it. And Peak was like, wait a minute, we came all this way and all you're going to say is, okay, I'll see you soon. That's weird. The thing that I think was funny, a little bit funny, is that Peak was trying to find a way to explain to Sunjo that he did not want to ride the motorcycle home, but Zopa took care of that. And he said, you know what? No, hopefully somebody's going to steal it and you will never have to ride that motorcycle again. But here's some money. Take a cab. The monk turned and walked away. I was relieved about the taxi, but that didn't explain why I'd come all the way down to the Indrayani temple. When I asked Sunjo about it, he just shrugged and said that Zopa had his own way of doing things. Mysterious ways, as it turned out, because when we got back to the hotel, Zopa was already waiting for us in the lobby. I didn't recognize him at first because the orange robe had been replaced by regular street clothes and an expensive-looking pair of sunglasses. The sunglasses made him look like some kind of celebrity, which I suppose he was to the trekkers and climbers gathered around him. It had taken us 10 minutes tops to catch a taxi outside of the temple. We drove straight to the hotel. The traffic wasn't any worse than it had been on the motorcycle on the way to the temple. And yet, there was Zopa chatting with the hotel staff and guests as if he'd been there all afternoon. I looked at Sunjo, expecting him to be as shocked as I was. He wasn't. Zopa does things like that, he said. How? Another shrug, which I learned later was everyone's answers to questions about Zopa. You'll get used to it, Sunjo added, then went over and greeted the vacationing monk. Now, you're probably wondering why I didn't ask Zopa myself. Believe me, I was tempted. But I didn't think he would tell me. Of course, he might give me some reasonable explanation. It's sort of like asking a magician to tell you how he does a trick, or asking a tagger how he got those 17 freight cars painted in a single night. It's all about the mystery. Sometimes it's better not to ask. Up in the room, Zopa sorted through the gear, putting in different piles while Sunjo and I watched. Once in a while, he would stop and have me try something on, saying, fits or doesn't fit. When he was finished, there were 3 piles. He pointed to one of the piles. We will take this and trade for things that fit. My boots, blue snowsuit, and several other items of clothing were in a separate pile with some of the other stuff. I pointed out that none of the things in that pile fit either. I have another use for them, Zopa said. I didn't know what it could be, but I didn't pursue it. Instead, I pointed to the trade pile, which had several $100s worth of batons, cams, ropes, and other expensive equipment. This gear is brand new, I said. You won't need it to get up Sugar Matha. This is what the Nepalese call Everest. My dad bought it, I argued. He might need it. Your father told me to make sure that you have everything you need to climb the mountain. How much money do you have? I told him, but I didn't mention the credit card Mom had given me. I didn't think she'd be very happy about a huge bill for Everest gear. It's not enough to get the things you will need, Zopa said. Hopefully, we will be able to trade all this. He started to gather up the gear for the trade pile. Best not to argue, Sunjo whispered, and he and I helped haul the gear downstairs where a Toyota truck and driver were waiting for us. It took hours to get the replacement gear. In the process, I got quite a tour of Kathmandu. It seemed that most of the places Zopa liked to shop were located down dark, scary alleys. He was warmly greeted wherever we went until the bartering started, when he and the proprietor would end up in a shouting match until a bargain was struck. The most difficult things to find were my boots. I tried on a pair I liked, tell Zopa they fit great, then he would make me walk and shake his head. Not right, he'd say. What do you mean? I'd insist. They'd fit great. Too small, he'd say. But when your toes fall off inside the swelling and pinching, they will fit perfectly. We finally agreed on a pair that did fit great, but they were pretty battered up on the outside. In fact, all the stuff we bought was banged up. I hope this gear wasn't taken from dead climbers, I said offhandedly. Zopa looked horrified. Bad luck to use gear of the dead. No, this is from people who come to Kathmandu to climb and decide it is better to stay in bar and drink. I must have looked horrified myself. Don't think ill of them, he said. They lived. Zopa also bought a few things for himself and Sunjo, who I guessed was coming with us to base camp by the gear he was getting. Unlike me, he listened carefully to Zopa's opinions and bowed every time the monk gave him something. It was late when we got back to the hotel. We went up to the room, packed everything, then loaded it into the truck. We leave for Tibet tomorrow morning at 6, Zopa said. He and Sunjo got into the truck and drove away. So the next time I read, we will be in Tibet. All right. So yesterday, during our Zoom meeting, we talked about the point of view that the bracelet is in. Now, the story of the bracelet is told by Ruri herself. And Ruri is explaining everything that's happening. And the author made the choice to use that point of view for a specific reason. And part of your assignment today is asking you to think about what that reason is. So, the first part of your assignment is going to be in ELA. Most parts of your assignment are going to be in ELA reading, and that is the bracelet point of view. If you would like to, you can take the comprehension quiz first. It doesn't really matter. So the comprehension, let's just do that first since it's here. The comprehension quiz will bring you to a Google form, and you are going to fill it in just like usual. I want you to have your story open, and I want you to use your story to help you. Read the questions and the answers carefully when you do this. You may only take it once. You may not take it a second time. Okay? So make sure you're careful there. The second thing that you are going to do is the bracelet point of view. And so that'll bring you to a Google slide like yesterday. And anytime you see a gray box, you're going to double click, and that'll give you a text box, and you can write the answer to the question. So it is asking you why you think the author might have used first person point of view in the bracelet. What are some advantages to doing that? And what are some disadvantages to doing that? What are some limitations that the author had because they chose to tell the story from Ruri's point of view instead of a third person narrator who can see into everybody's opinions, thoughts and opinions. So that is what you are looking at today. When you get down to the bottom, it asks you a specific question about how Ruri feels about the United States government's suspicions of Japanese Americans. And that you're going to have a very short answer for. You don't need to have a long answer for that. That's why there isn't very much space. But then it asks how you know. And there you are going to go into your story and you're going to find a specific example that shows you how she feels. So you can say, Rory says, Rory does, and this shows this. And then the second one is how she feels about the soldiers at the civil control station. Again, you don't need a long answer for that first part, but then how do you know? You really want to dig in and find a very specific example. If your example is not specific, you are not going to get full credit for your answer. Okay? All right. So the last thing that you are going to do is a journal free write. It is Friday, so you're going to go to your ELA notebook and you are going to write a free write journal prompt. If you don't have a timer at home, you can Google 5-minute timer. You've seen me do that quite often. And time yourself typing for 5 minutes. You can write about anything you want. It's Free Write Friday, but make sure that you do that. If you are still looking for things to do, of course, you may continue working on your demonstration. And on Monday, we're going to check in and see how you're doing with that, your progress on that. So hopefully there aren't any questions, but if there are, I will answer them at our Zoom meeting today at 1:00. Make sure you come and say hi and check in, and I will see you there. Bye. Have a great weekend.